The last 48 to 72 hours in the crypto market have been absolutely insane. A quick summary: Binance sued by the SEC with 13 charges. Coinbase sued by the SEC for acting as an unlicensed broker. SEC filed court documents to freeze Binance US assets, and then we had fake news that had actually happened, which it isn't. Binance accused of running a legal exchange in the US. Coinbase says we will get the job done in court. And that's just like the last 2.5 days. Guys, we're obviously going to talk about that. But Wednesdays, we look at charts and what it means for the market. We'll talk about the huge move on Bitcoin down and then right back up after these two lawsuits, and a novel idea that Chris and I just had before. We're also going to take a look at the coins that the SEC has deemed securities and gone after in both the Binance and SEC cases. You guys don't want to miss this. Let us go.
Let's go.
What is up, everybody? I'm Scott Melker, also known as the Wolf of Wall Street. Before we get started, please subscribe to the channel and hit that like button, and go right down in the description and hit that link for OKX. OKX right now coming up, still smelling like roses. We know that all of their assets are backed 1 for 1, and now we're going to see. But they were number 2 in volume and trading, and obviously with all the problems with Binance, this could be a last man standing situation. But guys, they've chosen to support me for the next few months at the very least. I'm flying out to Silverstone for Formula One with them in about 3 weeks or 4 weeks, but really excited to have them on board. And the best way to support me and all my free content, obviously, is just go sign up. But guys, as I mentioned, we've had a crazy few days, and that has led to a crazy lack of sleep for me, right? Because on Monday, I wrote a long newsletter that summarized everything happening with the Binance case. Maybe that was on Tuesday. I don't even remember anymore. And then today I had to get up and write a full newsletter, which is free, about what's happening in the Coinbase case. We've seen a shock and awe campaign right now from the SEC, from the United States government, attacking the industry. And as I said, this morning in the newsletter, you know, we sort of started off with this vibe of controlling crypto. Now it seems like it's Operation End Crypto in the United States. I'm not believing that that is going to happen, but certainly that is what Uncle Gary Gensler wants. To give that quick summary again, guys, these are things I said in the intro. Binance sued by SEC. Coinbase sued. SEC files to freeze Binance US assets. Binance accused of running a legal exchange. Coinbase says we will get the job done. Now, one of my favorite ironies of this entire process is what Adam Cochran, who is a bit of an alarmist, but says, reminder, when the U.S. government sells seized crypto assets, they use Coinbase. According to the SEC, the U.S. government is using an illegal, unregistered securities exchange. Oh, the irony. Every time they seize someone's crypto, be it Bitcoin or otherwise, they go to Coinbase, who they believe is operating an illegal exchange, to sell those assets themselves. But of course, we've seen Brian Armstrong push back. Now, I've been trying to get Brian on Twitter Spaces, trying to get Paul Graywall. It's a bit tough because there's a lot of conditions and you have to do it in the right way. But those things will happen, whether on Spaces or in a more controlled environment on a podcast. But here's what he said. The SEC reviewed our business and allowed us to become a public company. There's no path to come in and register. The SEC and CFTC have made conflicting statements. This is why the U.S. Congress is introducing new legislation to fix this situation, and the rest of the world is moving to put clear rules in place to support this technology. So much to parse here, and that's something that I'm going to do continually here and, of course, on Twitter Spaces. Speaking of which, guys, I don't know if you caught it yesterday, but I was on Twitter Spaces for like 7 hours, and we had 1 million people tune in. 1 million people tuned in to a crypto news show. In a matter of literally 1 week, and I don't know if there's any argument, I think that we now have the largest crypto show on any platform in the world on Twitter Spaces. And I don't take that responsibility lightly. It's very difficult to manage the personalities, to vet the news, to make sure that what we're saying is actually true. We're not reporting fake news. And also to take a measured approach. If you guys listened, we had plenty of skeptics, haters on there. And some of them had very convincing cases. I mean, we had an SEC lawyer, John Ray, what's his name? Whatever, and everybody was screaming at this guy, and he was just literally pointing out what the SEC laws are. It's very clear that the SEC has grounds for a lot of their claims, and it is going to have to be solved in court, right? You guys may have missed the part. I had a debate with Mark Cohodes, Alder Lane Eggs or something on Twitter. He's been on there before. He comes in with a lot of and justified, I think, ego and brashness, and says, I'm not going to be interrupted, which we didn't. We were respectful. This is the guy, obviously, who is famous for being a short seller of many assets over history, but most notably Silvergate and Signature Banks. And as a part of his short selling, he aggressively sent letters, as he admits, to many senators and congresspeople to point out what he viewed as money laundering and criminal activity in those banks to help collapse them. It was in his financial interest, but in his defense, he believes, it seems, that he is an activist and is pointing out failures in systems and then obviously profiting from it. A lot of stories about him and Elizabeth Warren meeting. He says that that's not necessarily true. He just sent letters, but I pushed back very hard, and we had a very, very constructive debate. James says that guy needs to grow up. Tenacious B says, LOL, that was the best part. You crushed him. Listen, I'm respectful. I think you saw I reset the room quite a few times to kind of calm people down. But yeah, I wouldn't say that I crushed him. I would just say that I'm not going to be bullied on my own platform by someone with an agenda. And I'm going to turn it into a constructive conversation. And we're each going to point out the holes in each other's logic and hopefully come to a conclusion. And I think that to some degree, that is what happened. But nobody is like coming in and running over me and setting rules. Guys, that's the gist, literally, of what's happening right now. We can take a very quick look here. I'm going to bring on Chris, of course, but a whole lot of green here, Chris.
Yeah. Oh, there I am. I'm on there.
Allergies. Chris and his allergies.
Oh, man, they're bad. Yeah, man. I mean, everybody got, worried. Everybody thought, oh, my God, it's going to go down further. And, as always, pretty much always when you've got all that negativity, it usually marks some sort of bottom. And so, yesterday was not a surprise. We had that kind of capitulative move the day before, the big candle down, big volume. And then we had even greater volume up yesterday, with Bitcoin. So it's no surprise to see everything's kind of, for the most part, green today. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to share your screen in a second, but I had made this chart yesterday, which I think is kind of funny. There's the hourly chart for Bitcoin. Binance news, Coinbase news, Bitcoin doesn't give a fuck. Steady lads. Because then we start to see this retrace, and now we're kind of all over the place. I'm going to bring up your chart, though, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on the TA. To be honest, I've been so overwhelmed that I haven't really been digging so deeply into charts, understandably.
Okay, you want to talk about Bitcoin?
Yeah, let's talk about Bitcoin right now, because I think so many people are surprised by that move. Listen, I think we saw legitimate dumping on the Binance news, personally. Like, you always see panic in those moments. Yeah. But we saw the exact same thing on the CFTC news 2.5 months ago with Binance on that lawsuit, and it bounced back eventually, right? Yep. But I think the surprise is that they come after Coinbase and price goes up. Now, I think that's a short squeeze. I think this was a technical move in a range here, but I would love to hear your thoughts on it.
Well, I mean, the big picture remains the same thing I've been talking about for months now. That weekly pivot continues to hold this support. And so now we've got this candle here. And not only that, but actually that dip, it hit this previous area of resistance here. I mean, this is a pretty significant level, right? You had it back over here, August 15th, week of August 15th. And then again here, February 13th and February 20th, those weeks. And then there we go, popping off that. I mean, again, everybody's like, oh, it has to go down. It has to go down. But everybody, like here, and all of a sudden it has to go, new lows. But you've got so much strength that you've got to get through before you even think about that. And I think when I say that, people say, oh, well, you're saying it can't go down. No, I don't say it's not that it can't go down, but it's right now, the hardest thing to do is especially when you're using something like Wyckoff, which is the idea that, it helps you understand how the professionals are trading, right? Where is the market actually being pushed around? If you don't understand how that works, it's hard to wrap your head around this when you're emotional, But again, we sit here and we look at this whole range as accumulation here. This is, we have this pusher. This is what we call back up to the edge of the creek. Creek is just the supply that turns into demand, right? And it's just this area that keeps everything from going up. And then you get the big candle through it, you pull back to it. This right here, decreased volume, overlapping price action, remaining for a while above the range. I mean, this is all textbook Wyckoff here. This is textbook accumulation. So when we talk about it, it's hard to get people who are emotional to understand because Wyckoff takes a little bit of to get your head wrapped around it. But I think the big thing continues just to be that weekly pivot continues to hold as support. Now, if we jump in over here to the short time frame, let's look what happened here. So I posted there on Twitter part of my morning update for Bitcoin the other day. And it talked about the idea that we had this accumulation range here. We have this spring here and the breakout. I think the 15-minute pivot was right about this area. And I said, if we got a breakout through that, we'd be looking for a target of the hourly pivot, which is exactly what we hit. Last night, I told them, listen, guys, what I'm looking for is a pullback toward the S1, though we may get caught right here on that descending channel EQ. So, I mean, so far, everything's kind of going as you would expect. Or, I mean, yeah, at least as I expect.
look at the weekly here, right? I mean, I've been screaming about, I think, 25,212 retests since, Monday, March 3rd, right around March 13th, right? We made that higher high. I said, listen, we can go really high, but a healthy retest of that level as support, because that was the first higher high, would be great. I mean, I don't have the exact number. I can just pull the line right now. First of all, guys, when we talk about a line, we're talking about an area, right? And two things happen when everyone's watching an exact line. You either get front run, which means it bounces a little bit ahead because smart money is not waiting for that exact price, or you get that massive wick right through to get all that liquidity, right? And then it goes the other way. Well, right here, we got to 25,350, right? We've been calling for this for months. Yep. I can't say that's it, but it's yet again holding the 200 MA on the weekly here again. Yep. Potentially a hammer here, but we got 4 or 5 more days. I mean,
yeah.
This is like, it doesn't, people love to talk about the news and this and, oh, you're only right because of Binance and you're only right because of Coinbase. But if it wasn't those things, it would be something else.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's the hardest thing, I think when new traders come in, they're looking for somebody to convince them, right? But here's the thing, guys, you can't be convinced of something. You have an opinion that's held to a certain extent. And if you really believe in that opinion, nobody's going to be able to convince you otherwise. If you're open to hearing something different and to looking at something different, nobody can convince you otherwise. You're going to, you're going to take it in, you're going to consider it. But I think, again, there's a lot of this, when new traders come in, this whole idea that, first of all, it's all emotion. But if you do trading right, if you understand how markets work, you come to find out that everything is already kind of in the charts. And it's just, are you reading it correctly? And it doesn't matter how long you do this. You can do this for decades and decades. You're still going to get trades wrong. You're still going to misread it at times, but that's part of the game. That's why risk management continues to be so important. Everybody looks for that holy grail, right? That secret sauce. Everybody's like, oh man, show me that one system that'll get me right all the time and whatnot. But there isn't anything like that. The only real secret sauce, the only holy grail out there is proper risk management. And if you don't understand that, if you refuse to listen, you refuse to do that, you're never going to get where you want to be as a trader. You just can't, because you're going to make mistakes, and it takes one mistake to wipe you out. You can have 10, 20, 50 trades in a row that go right for you, and that one trade that you don't have proper risk management on and goes wrong, wipe it all out. And and with Bitcoin, man, wipe it out in an hour, right? Or a day. I mean, it's...
Oh my God, forget Bitcoin. Let's talk about what happens if you do it on an altcoin. I'm literally I'm going through these charts right now, pulling them up. There's a lot. I sent you a couple more there. One of them I literally never even heard of. But yeah, so these are, I'm getting all the coins that we're going to look at here. We'll go through them very quickly, guys. But this is everything. We're now up to 67 coins total that the SEC has named in these suits without actually going after any of the coins, right? This sort of laissez-faire, passive-aggressive attack on the crypto industry by just occasionally throwing in a few names on each one. But these are the ones that are specific to Coinbase and Binance. Chris, I'm going to give you the list here. So we got, this is for Binance, it's Solana, ADA, Matic, Filecoin, Atom, Sand, Mana, Algo, Axie Infinity, and Coty. And then Coinbase, some are the same. One of them's OL. I literally have no idea what that is.
Nope.
ADA, Matic, Filecoin, Sand, Axie, all of those again. Chiliz, Flow, ICP, Near, VGX, literally kill me. VGX is dead. Like the platform's gone, and now they're deeming it a security. Dash and Nexo. Yeah. I have no idea what OL is. So listen, I see you pulling up a bunch of them, but let's do some. Well, and then I don't even see BNB there though, so this can't be the complete list.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not.
Oops. But yeah, can we start at BNB? Because I was actually surprised that at the Coinbase stock dumped more on the day of the Binance news than BNB coin dumped on the Binance news.
Gotta love how that works, right?
Yeah, go ahead. Go at it.
Hey, let me just say something real quick. I just want to say, I've been to law school. I've got the law degree, right? My issue, and I've had a few of these arguments, it seems like online, or these misunderstandings. My big issue with the way that Gensler and his SEC is doing this is that they're going. So the way that the agency should work, in a great kind of country, is that the agency says, listen, let us help you not break the law. Let us help you understand this. Let us help you explain. Right? And I think this is kind of Brian Armstrong's argument, if I remember correctly. But instead, the SEC has been like, well, no, we're just going to sit back here and hide behind it and let you break what we think is breaking the law, and then we're going to come after you. And to me, that's not productive in any way, shape, or form. I think that is absolutely the worst way to go about it if you're a government agency. But the other side of that is that, remember, everybody talks about the government as if it's this big old one-brained behemoth, right? And really, the government's just a bunch of agencies. What was it?
And those agencies aren't a monolith either, right? I mean, like we know Hester Peirce fundamentally disagrees with Gary Gensler, and they're both SEC commissioners, right? So,
and it's just people in there doing their job, really. So, I mean, we like to hate on government, but at the end of the day, government is not this one big thing. It's a bunch of people with a bunch of ideas and understandings of their particular agencies, and that just causes a bunch of havoc out there. But yeah, I mean, for me, the big problem with SEC is exactly that. It's this idea that, hey, we're gonna, we're not gonna help, make sure that you're not breaking the law. We're just gonna let you go out there and try and figure it out, swim blindly. And then we're going to come after you. To me, it's just.
I mean, that was the core of my argument with that guy, Mark Cojotes, yesterday, is he kept yelling that I literally he said, I could pen a letter to the SEC right now of what Coinbase and Brian Armstrong should say. And I literally said, go ahead, buddy, pen the letter. And he, in his creatively spoke the letter that he would write, and then I just kind of tore it to shreds. But if both parties are not and I kept saying this, if both parties are not acting in good faith, there is no debate. He kept saying you don't go against the SEC, but if the SEC isn't a good faith actor, then you can't do business. So you have to both be negotiating with the intention of finding a solution.
Yeah, I think it's the only way you do it. Otherwise,
just got to fight now. The only thing to do now is fight. It's their only chance. Regardless of where they are now, we need them to fight.
Let a judge
go for BNB here, though. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, so BNB, I mean, you can see, obviously, we've got this huge run up over here, right? If I'm looking at this, I'm saying, okay, well, there's the preliminary supply coming in. If we're looking at via Wyckoff, there's your buying climax, automatic reaction down here. You've got your secondary test. And I mean, looking at volume here, this looks quite like a spring over here. Much less volume. You can notice, see this swing low over here, this swing low right here. You've got this big bit of volume. And then you get this swing low over here in significantly less volume. So what does that tell us? That tells us that there's less selling, much less selling going down here at the bottom than there was here. And that's important because if there's a lack of selling at the lows, well, then necessarily you kind of move up, right? So, I mean, as this continues to kind of work out here, I don't like that it continues to hold under the EQ here, which is, I guess, right there around about $380. I don't like that it sits there under that still for all this time. But if we're looking at this, man, this could end up being a heck of a range. If this ends up being reaccumulation here, I mean, this could just be ST and phase B, and then maybe we get a spring over here.
And that's like a $700 to $200 range, right? I mean, people don't realize when you're looking at that chart how far BNB climbed on a relative basis, because we both use logarithmic charts, right? So it shows you the percentage change, really. So like when you really dig into that, we're talking about a $500 range. I have the same one drawn and have forever.
Yeah. And so, at this point right here, I don't know if I'm looking here. I think, you maybe get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can get an ABC down here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe still 4 in progress coming up here. If we're losing this swing low right here, if we don't like close on volume here below, what is this, 265? This is that low from this is the weekly, so the March 6th week. If we don't close below that on volume, I think we might just get a wick and back up. If we do, I think we can look maybe down here around 245.
Yep.
Maybe even around 230. But I want to see what happens in this area. I want to see, do we get this? First of all, do we even get down here? Because if we just like rally for, I think again, this screams that it looks like accumulation here or reaccumulation, and this has been going on. By the way, it's important to understand this is from what? This is from the week of May 3rd of 2021. So this is 2 years plus in the making here, and I point that out because the longer the consolidation, the larger the breakout or breakdown. And so if this ends up becoming reaccumulation here, if that's what this is, you're going to expect a large move up out of this range, because we've had multiple years of sideways here. So for me, it's do we lose that?
Yeah.
And if we do we get the bounce here or the dip down and come back up? But right now, the volume looks great right now as far as reaccumulation would go with that range so far.
Solana next. You got that?
What was that?
We're going to do Solana next.
Yeah.
We got to cook through them. I'm making Chris go first because I'm just generally going to agree, and I don't want to waste time doing 2 charts. Go ahead.
Again, I want to zoom out of the weekly because I think these are more important. Everyone's going to get caught up in the small time frames. But again, big move up. And so, again, we kind of get this sideways here, right? We have the one dip right here the week of March 6th, that nice wick that basically, again, kind of like with Bitcoin, right? Just recently, you kind of finding that area of resistance as support, right? We can even pull this all the way over here. And that was the resistance, right? So, ultimately, while we're above this, I think you should be looking up, and, that kind of gets you down around $16. That isn't too far off from where we are now. But really, we're just kind of tightly even range bound right here since March 13th. Again, that week of March 13th there. You can see that as we're doing this sideways, it's just all overlapping small candles, volume dropping off. These are usually what you want to see if you're looking for price to just be like pulling back, right? So, if you're looking at trends, right? Trends are these things where you're getting larger and larger candle spreads and volume is expanding. Pullbacks, corrections basically look, a lot more like this or this, where you've got smaller candlesticks, candle spreads bouncing up and down all over each other, and your volume is just kind of falling off. And so right now, that continues to be what we're seeing here. So I'm just looking for this breakout. What is this? 2230 here. If we can get a breakout above that, I think it carries out and above. And if it does, again, I think we're looking up here around, what's it, $65, $66 at that weekly pivot. I think it's where we're looking.
Yeah. But, things still look kind of good. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. But if we drop down, whatever this wick right here is still, you've got to make it through that wick, and then there should be demand sitting in all that. So, again, until we're breaking down below this kind of $16 or so here, until we're breaking down below that, I think generally you should be expecting to go higher. Now, if you get that, well, then things look interesting. But until that, I think,
God. Okay, next is Matic, but I have to do it because on the last stream, and guys, Matic is my largest position outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum. I'm a long-term holder, but not great. Because last time we were here, I drew this. I don't know if you remember, and said we were saying everything looks good, and I was like, I can't really get there with Matic because it's under this major resistance of 94 cents. Well, look, I drew that very shitty bear flag, but floated right up to it, tested it 3 times, and now breaking down.
Yeah.
And by the way, Matic has also been, they're saying I'm hearing news. Obviously, this has been named in both Binance and Coinbase, but I also saw that it was potentially going to be delisted from Robinhood, although we were not able to vet that news. So I guess no surprise. But I mean, do you see anything? Then again, as I said, I'm a long-term Matic bull. So let's try to flip this around and give an area where we would actually consider adding. Right. And I think that's going to be down here. It's close, 75-ish cents. And I think that's, below that 69 cents. Below that, watch out below. Right. Did you have a Matic chart? I mean, do you generally agree with the assessment? Let me see if you got it.
As I continue to look at this, let me see. Let me zoom out to the larger time frame here.
That followed my line perfectly. I must have a crystal ball and be a genius. All my lines do that, guys. Every single one. Sarcasm, not financial advice. I usually miss. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, if we take the bigger picture in, I mean, to me, it looks like 1, 2, 3, and 4 here.
So we need a much bigger 5.
A 1 and a 2 on that pullback. If this is just a local 2 pullback here, let's see if that aligns with where you were looking at there. Because if I look at this, the first thing, of course, I'm going to look again on these weeklies. Look right here, right? And so that's kind of right there around 60. What was that? 55? What is that? 55 cents? Kind of general area. So you've got that resistance into support, support, resistance. Now, locally up here, you have this area, and it comes from this swing low over here at around 68 cents or so, 69 cents. I think it's what you were looking at too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that would get you a pullback there, 70.5. That's institutional level pullback. You can see that the weekly RSI is nearing oversold down here. If we like to go A, B, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, I mean, this looks like 5 down. Even if you think it's going to come down further eventually, I think we're getting ready to bounce at least, because again, well, like I said, this looks like A, B, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, I mean, that would give us a wave C potentially. Or it gets a little bounce and it drops down a little bit further for 5, but then it still bounces back up probably to around $1 here.
Yeah, I mean, that resistance is 94 cents. And obviously, I mean, you can just draw a line on $1 and see that there's been tons of price action, within 5 cents on either side.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean,
Aziz, I just wrote really quick. He's saying, why you believe in Matic project that much? Well, first of all, it's easy to believe in when you bought it at 5 cents. Right, which I did, but just the amount of I happen to not trade fundamentals so much, but I've been close to their team for a very long time. I've talked to Sandeep. They have constant partnerships with major companies. I just think there's tons of real interest in it. That's the simple reason. But and like I said, I have an entry at 5 cents and below, so I'm going to ride that for a while.
Got a lot of room for it to move.
I did, right? By the way, I mean, and people know, if you were following me, I sold some when it went up. I did not ride this entire position. I was selling between $2 and like $2.50. I think it went to $2.92 ultimately, but I did sell some of the position, and I would actually look to add here soon.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, again, people talk about way down here, but there's a lot of this that we have to get through. Again, that 70.5. And then that 78.6 right around 58, 59 cents. I mean, those align pretty well with these general areas of support and resistance here. So, I mean, you've got to get through that before you even think about it getting down here. Now, I'll tell you what, if you're losing, 18.5 cents here.
Yeah, it's look out below. You're all the way back to where I bought it. Yeah.
Yeah. But until then, it's got a lot of work to do. And your weekly Stoke RSI is oversold, and RSI is almost oversold. And I mean, to me, I think you just, and generally crypto in general should be, bear market, should be considered to be over. And so you've got that as well. Other stuff that's going on with Gensler and crew. I mean, guys, that's going to take forever to figure out. Look at the Ripple lawsuit. Look how long that's going in.
Yeah, dude, it's going to be years.
Yeah. So even if it were to come out on the side that we don't want it to, it's going to take years to get there. So
now we have to do Filecoin listed in both. Do you have that?
I can pop it up here real quick.
I don't really have a passionate feeling about it. I mean, I have the chart from whatever I had before pulled up. It just looks like a chop fest sideways. None of them reacting so terribly to this news. I mean, I guess, it's got a 10% drop. Yeah.
Well,
I want to see your thoughts. I don't have any feeling on that, except for that I don't see a reason to touch it right now. But go ahead.
I mean, if we go to the weekly, I mean, it looks pretty clear, like 5 waves up.
And it also
here.
looks like it's trying really hard for an inverse head and shoulders.
yeah. If you're into that,
You
yeah.
can't talk
definitely
about
coming
it
in
yet,
there, right?
but I mean, it's forming a very familiar bottoming type pattern here.
Yeah. Let me see here.
Look at that
What do we get
volume on the bottom. I mean, look at that volume at the bottom.
Yeah, if I'm looking at this, I'm probably saying something like ABC here, and so then we go. It could be like a 1, 2, 3, 4, working on a 5 here, right around the 78.6. Again, Stochastic RSI overset. Once again, overlapping price action, volume falling off. I mean, you can probably watch for a break of the diagonal here, but ultimately you'd want to get above this $7.50, basically $7.58. If you pop above that, I mean, that says, again, that says the count that we've got here, right? So we go 1, 2, potentially from there, you get 3, minimum 5 at $18. But I think 3 overextends, because what you should expect with these pivots like this is something like you kind of get up here 3, 4, 5, and then you come back and then you kind of bounce up again. Let me see, would they give us? They give us a 50% at that. Yeah, see, you pull that back, you get that 50% retracement at the pivot. So, I mean, overall, I would expect wave 3, if this is correct here, coming up from here, overextend, probably hit $18 to $20, pull back to the pivot, rally up to the R1 pivot right up here, this resistance, pull back down to the pivot again and break out higher. And so that just gets you then a 1, 2 and up higher.
God, man. I mean, even like if you're just don't believe it's going to go up or do anything, you should even just expect a move from $4.20 to $11.30 just to test that resistance at some point.
Yeah.
But even if this is just ranging, you should be expecting to hit $11.40, $11.39 at some point.
Yeah. Again, I think it's just peak FUD right now with everything. I think everybody's just, and I don't mean FUD as in like everybody says everything's FUD. I just mean that it's just this peak bad news events and price continues to go higher, right?
Yeah, it's real bad news. It's not FUD necessarily, but it's peak negative sentiment, I think, is the idea.
Yeah, and and that's in bear markets. This is what you see. You get this point where you have all this bad news, and price doesn't react a whole lot, or if it does, it immediately reacts back the other way, and overall it just continues going higher, right? And I think that's kind of what we're seeing with everything. Quite likely, it's initial reaction to, oh my God, here comes Gensler and SEC, and then it's like, okay.
Next we gotta do Adam Cosmos.
You Cosmos?
Yeah, Adam. It's I'm looking at the weekly here. I don't know when I drew that line, but I don't love what happened after I drew it. Below here, the 200 MA, below the 50 MA on the weekly, it's not that bad. I mean, I don't really give much credence to ascending support anymore, to be quite honest, because we've seen so many of these fake out, and then even if you go up to test it, you like go up 100%, in trying to retest that ascending line over time. But that was my first jump at it. I'm going to bring yours up.
Let me see here. Just pull this up. Let me see. Well, the first thing I notice is this right here. Again, looking for these same kind of horizontals on the larger time frames. This is the weekly still. Again, same idea here. Still oversold on Stochastic RSI. RSI itself a little bit higher here than the other ones, but still kind of downtrending. So, if we're going to continue pushing down here, we can look down here around this $9.27, $8.93 kind of area to see if we can get some kind of reaction off that, right? So if we look here, we can go, well, it's ABC and then ABC. So this would give us a WXY. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 WXY. So then we come up here and again, kind of look at this as ABC, and then ABC is WX, and then AB 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe like I said, maybe finishing out right about here. Looks like we're getting kind of long in the tooth on the decline. So could have a 1, 2, 1, 2 here, but in that case, you still want to see this move out above this swing high right here at $13, basically 13.487, so almost 13.5. If you're looking for an earlier entry, you can look on a breakout of this diagonal, but diagonals aren't as especially a shorter term, aren't as reliable as horizontals. But that horizontal up there at that $13, almost 13.5 is the one to look for. If you get that, I think again, you're rallying up to the R1. So from that point, that's what is that? That's like 150% on that. So I think, quite likely maybe looking at something like this here. So we'll see. We'll see if we can get this reaction here. We could see a dip down and then a wick below and close back up. So a throw under of that wedge.
Why is Matic the only chart that looks bad? Why is that got to be the one I'm holding?
Well, I showed you it didn't necessarily look too bad.
No,
right?
I know. I'm kidding. Well, sand looks pretty. I just opened sand, and that's been on that's a dump fest. So maybe that's worth looking at really quick. You have sand there?
Yeah, I can pull that up.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cook through these because we're gonna run out of time.
Yeah,
but
yeah. You see here,
the old school way. You guys get the 60-second take on these charts.
Let me see.
Fucking metaverse. That's what I have to say about sand. How much was land? Wasn't land literally selling for like 7 figures in sand at the peak of metaverse land
I
sales?
think it was some crazy thing. Yeah. I don't like this chart a whole lot.
Yeah, this one I don't love. So go ahead.
Not a big fan. Not all clear and everything else. I mean, we've got this support right here, right above that red line, where we've got everything kind of in on these drops. If this can hold, and again, we get the break of this diagonal here, I think that sets up a good potential rally higher. In this case, I would want to break out of the swing high here at around 94 cents. But if we can get that, I think we, look at the pivot at least. And if we can get impulsive breakout above that, again, I think like everything else, it just follows with everything else. But we want to see if it can hold. If it doesn't hold here, I mean, I think, we end up coming down toward this 18, 19 cent area here. If this does not hold, if we don't just get a wick below, if we get a good close below that, I think we continue coming down there. But as long as it holds, that diagonal, I mean, we look at we look at 85 cents first. And if we could break out a swing high right there, I think we look up the pivot, the weekly pivot there. And that's around $2.30. So be a good rally.
Yeah, I hope metaverse housing market crashing, said Works Joe. I hope that's not a predecessor of commercial real estate in the United States. Next, we have Mana. We're going to cook through these, as I said, but kind of looks, I think you're going to find that because it's a metaverse, it's not going to be so different.
You said Mana?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Were we just here on the other chart? We were just here on the last one, right?
Guys, you hear what he said about sand? That's what he has to say about Mana. Wow. I mean, there's a few of these that don't look that awesome. I'm zipping ahead of you to Algo. I think Mana looks exactly the same as sand. We can skip it. Yeah, same thing there.
Algorand,
though, do you have that pulled up? I mean, I'm looking at the daily, and RSI is currently at 22.
Yeah, well, you're going to see this on a lot of them. I mean, I'm zoomed out here to the weekly, but those dailies are oversold. Yeah, I mean, so, you're probably looking for a bounce, and it's oversold right here at the daily S1 pivot. You've got this large gap right here. So, I mean, if you can pop up above this almost 14 cent area, I mean, I think you're looking up here around 15 cents. And, if you can pop out above that 15.5, I think it carries above the pivot, and you can start looking for that rally up through the R5, which is right around 23.5 cents. If it can do that, right?
I mean, this is it's just tragic.
Yeah,
I liked this chart. I didn't realize how bad it was. It's funny I haven't opened some of these in a while. I mean, the all-time low is basically 9 cents.
Yeah, it's pretty close there. Yeah.
I think you just bid that. Hope that it doesn't go into price discovery.
I think if we're breaking through, again, a diagonal there, I think that's a good first clue we're probably doing there. If we can get above this area right here. So what is this? This is, it's right there around 16.5 cents. I think if you pop that 16.5 cents, if you can do that, I think, you're running up into 23 or so. If you can do that, you're right up here about 28. But man, once you're done with that, I mean, you might see an initial pullback from 40, but, I think you pull back, maybe back down here to 20, 27, 28 or so, or even 23. But then you're up here again to that pivot right there around 70, almost 74 cents.
Yeah, I mean,
my next possibility in that, I think.
My next one's Axie Infinity. You couldn't have a more clearly, I think, defined resistance there if you do like diagonals.
what is
It's
that one?
AXS. AXS if you want to bring it up. But see some of these, like it's interesting to see, like, I guess Algo has just been taking a beating over and over and over again on a lot of these news events. But the last three looked particularly bad after I was just joking that why is Matic the only one that looks bad? Well, a couple of these don't look that great.
Yeah, I mean, we had this dip down here back the week of November 7th. We had that wick down there. It hit this general area of resistance support, pop back up. We're kind of coming back down to that, which is all it is this next area of resistance support right here. By the way, guys, if you're not looking left, you're not doing it right. Look left. Those same areas, those significant areas, especially on a larger time frame, support and resistance are going to continue to play out, as you can see here. And so people probably look at this, go, oh, it's a descending triangle. I wouldn't say this is a descending triangle because, first of all, you've got this dip lower here. But, if we can, again, pop up out there, I think you're looking horizontals. So if you can get your breakout here, I mean, maybe up here around $9 if you can break that. Right here around $11.40. And then you're looking up here around $13.40 or so. And then you're probably looking at about $16. And then, of course, you get through that and you're probably rallying right on up here to that $36.25 if you can do that. I'm not saying these things have to do these things, guys. I'm saying, listen, if you're looking for a reason along, this is how I'd play it. These are the general areas I'd watch on the rallies. And the more of those you take out, the more likely it is to continue up higher. That bottom's likely in there. So
we're just going to do two more because I got to run.
What you got?
For space? Coty and Chili's are the next two on the list. They're all looking so alarmingly still. Oh my gosh. This is one of those hilarious ones I just want to show you. Do you ever do this where you haven't looked at a chart in forever and you pull it up and there's no price action even on your chart, even though there's a daily, because it's dropped? You got all these lines because it's dropped so far. Low.
Yeah.
I love Shahaf Bar Geffen, the CEO of Coty. Like, I've had him on the show, but this looks like a Greek tragedy right here. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, again,
right into support again. Yeah,
support resistance right there. We got a good move up. You can assume a 1. You can go ABC. So you can get a WXY, just a deep pullback into this weekly bullish engulfing candle here at support, which is where we're hitting. So, if you can get a rally up out of here, you would have to get above 11 cents there or so. But if you can do that, that's going to suggest this is a 1-2. And then you'd be looking for, again, that rally up and above the pivot over there. See, once again, just like earlier, wave 3 comes right over the pivot. So you expect actually probably 21.20 or even 23.35. So again, you get this kind of idea that if you're going to get this breakout here, it's going to do something like this, right? And then go. And so that's real similar to that chart from, back in the beginning, toward the beginning of the show there that I was talking about.
It looks like we're at one of those things where, like, we're going to really see what happens when these all come into major supports, if they do.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if these big red lines you keep drawing by looking left, like, if they all start breaking across the board, we know that it's time to just not look at alts for a while. But
yeah. Again, these things have to hold.
Last. We'll do Cardano last, by the way, because I accidentally skipped that one. So.
Okay, you want to do Cardano?
Yeah, we'll do that one last. I had it's not invalid, but I had drawn sort of this ascending triangle idea. I mean, guys, as long as you have higher lows, it doesn't really matter how you draw this, right? That's something I learned from somebody. I'm not going to tell you who, but he's here in the room with us right now. But see, higher low, higher low, higher low. So it's not necessarily invalid, but you can't pretend that this didn't break down and retest and that we're losing the 50 and 200 MA, which are both pointing down. It's not all unicorns and puppies here.
Unicorns and puppies, yeah. And even the daily RSI still hasn't hit oversold yet. Stoke RSI there. What we do have is on this breakdown here with these last three the last 3 day candles here, we do have an expansion of volume coming in there. So now we want to see, okay, what happens in this area. It's just kind of the same locally here on the daily. It's just this kind of support area here, So what happens here? If we can get that rallying back up, then it potentially opens up higher. But for right now, I think daily's probably got a bit further to go. Weekly doesn't have anything there. I would probably, on the weekly here, I'd actually probably be looking probably at least right down here around 31 cents or so on that weekly. Because that weekly, there's Stoke RSI still not there. RSI not there.
Yeah, I don't think this is bottomed. What do I know? But that doesn't look like this is the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, but
That
there
chart,
is. I mean,
man. That's the old Mount Everest pattern, dude. I don't know.
There is that. So I mean,
there's a lot of support. Oh, when I say lower, I mean to that red line or the bottom of that zone you're talking about. I'm not talking about doom devastation. I'm not talking about like 10 cents and 2 cents and things like that. I'm just saying it looks like it wants to go from 33 down into the 20s.
Yeah, I mean, and that's that line you had right there, right? So you had the breakdown, the retest, and then the volume comes in, right? So I mean, yeah, I would wait for it to tell us that it may be bottoming or something. I think right now I don't think you assume it goes up. You assume it comes down further, and then you kind of look and say, okay, are we seeing something that suggests that maybe we should be watching it?
Yeah, guys, I want to be clear. Like anything we see on a chart is not critical of the project, of the team, of the people, of the fundamentals, of how important it is to you emotionally. It's just a chart.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly that.
I like a lot of these. So yeah, guys, that's all we got for today. Obviously, heading over to Twitter Spaces, Crypto Town Hall. I will literally be on there probably in the next 5 minutes because we've been rolling in from the morning spaces. Chris, thank you for sharing all of those charts. Guys, I'm off YouTube and newsletter tomorrow and Friday, but I will be on Spaces because I'm basically like in Spaces jail. I have to show up every single day, no matter what. So I'll be doing that from somewhere with my children and family. But otherwise, I will see you guys back here on Monday. Check out the Spaces. I'm sure it's going to be huge. Balaji is supposed to be signing on and potentially CZ. So this could be serious.
Could be interesting.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you, guys. Until next time. See ya. Peace.
That's dope.